This is about the dense population. Throughout history, there's always been a sharpness. Well, I shouldn't say always, but at different times in history, there has been more of a sharpness around people in general. What operates around them, that's sharp towards each other, more caring, more attentive, more aware of each other, more aware of each other. Not just aware of their lives, but aware that there's actually other people existing around them, right? And by the way, I'm over 60 years old, so just so you know, I'm still got a long way to go. But I remember in the 70s and even in the 80s and up to the 90s, there was much more of a higher sensitivity and sensibility, being sensible. The people had a much more awareness that if somebody's around you, you're aware enough for them to either open up the door or be a little bit more attentive. If you have a seat on the transit, then someone comes to sit there, you move over a little bit so that you're paying for half of the seat. You're not paying for the whole row, right? And even on the airplane, whatever. And it's I don't know when I can say at which point in human history, but over the past 10, 15, probably, yeah, 15 years, there's been a real shift going on. And so, when people will say, well, the world is, well, you can't really say that because you haven't traveled the world to see that people are being like this. but like being on YouTube or other forums, you see that people all over the world are talking about this strange phenomenon going on amongst the human race, where people are becoming less sharper, more dense, right? It's when they say when a person is dense, it's like densely populated. It means that there's not a whole lot of good stuff going on with the brain. It means there's some things missing there. But there's some density. Like you yell into the person's ears, and you kind of hear an echo, right? Um, just making a joke out of there. Funny. But I've seen this more and more, and I find that the more caring and the more you are aware of what your environment is, of what's going on around you, is because you care, right? Caring people really do care. I mean, it's a simple attribute to have. It's not, you don't really have to put a lot of work into it. And it actually has its benefits. You just learn to be a bit more of it's decency, it's common decency. But beyond the place of where the population is becoming dense, there's also not a phenomenon I see going on, and that's the ability to kind of egg on another person. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example. So I'm walking these two dogs, and there's this heavy set lady, and she looks like, there's some people have a certain type of information around them. There's something about their aura that they give off, that there's some kind of a depression or something going on with them, something. And by the way, I'm not going to go down all the road about depression. I believe depression is really a lot of its demonic attacks in the in the environment that is causing people to enter into a state, a lower consciousness, and to the point where people are being taken. I mean, evil influences got to find their way into you, and they are depressed. I mean, they know where they're going. They're going to be tormented, and there's no hope for them. They have to find an in way to a person, and the majority of the times they find their way into a person is through selfishness. The more selfish people become, the more one word they are. They're basically too into themselves, and they don't really care or even notice the outer world, to the point that they retreat into a very dark room. And of course, our room they retreat with is an evil spirit, right? And it's real. It's a real phenomenon. Um, there's not a means by which they'll do this through vices, right? When people allow themselves to allow their consciousness to get altered by whether it be through paraphernalia, some kind of form of drugs or alcohol, even whatever. There's a place where you people do stuff to kind of make themselves feel good, but it usually goes beyond that. That's when you kind of go at the top of the mountain. You on what's comes after, you can only go down, right? That's why it's really it does require a lot of discipline, and it does you got to really be disciplined if you want to feel that you need to feel good because you just sit around having a few drinks or you want to smoke something, whatever. Those things are outward means for something God has given you to have from Him above. You don't need to get high from stuff when God can make you feel high, which means make you feel higher, right? That state of being, right? That's a natural state God calls us to anyway. But the interesting phenomenon with people when they they become more dense, the Bible even talks about a spirit of stupor. And the Bible even goes on to say that the ones who don't receive correction are stupid. And so there's something about selfishness and arrogance and self-entitlement. I mean, it's a going backwards to toddlerism, right? Where people are not progressively getting better, they're regressing backwards in such a big way. And just to see it, yeah, experience it. I had, I have few other experiences, but like for instance, if you're shopping and someone will come and stand behind you, it's a bit of a stalking thing. And if you turn around, they don't just stand there, they come into your private zone, right? And it's like they know what they're doing. Some people go on to say, I think when people are getting that close to you, because they're trying to hook up, they're trying to steal your energy because they don't have anything good going on with them. I mean, you don't really know all the stuff that people do during the day or during the night when they're alone, that where they're very well fostering their demise, right? Their regression. Where they're going to a lower state of being, right? And the denseness that is going on in society, I see a lot of it is also becoming microaggressive, and you can become aggressively kind and gracious, not an aggressiveness where you're gonna try to overstep people's boundaries, but you can really do good things that the normal society wouldn't. That puts you sticking out, or you can be very aggressive in making people feel uncomfortable. And the denseness I see going on with the population is making people all around with each other, one speaking to another through invisible information, making them very uncomfortable with each other, very uncomfortable, period. That they come home and they're still discomforted. And some people are well aware and awake that they come home and they try their best to do a cleansing from this awkward weirdness that they have experienced. I had one. I mean, I've had quite a few, but I had one example where I was walking these two dogs, and that this lady, like I think I got waylaid by what I was saying here, but she was a little bit off. Something was not right about it. She's got her dog, and the dog is cute, right? It's kind of sad when people like these actually own animals because they transfer their weirdness onto their dogs too, right? But I'm walking the two dogs, and now we go over to the one side and trying to get away, stay away from her is only because you respect boundaries, right? Let her do her thing. I can go to the other side. And just another thing with denseness. Denseness won't do that. Denseness kind of will come and create an awkward situation, right? Anyway, I kept with the dogs and I kept going, right? And she's just standing there. She looked like she's totally like off and like odd. So I thought, okay, well maybe this is the front of her house, you know. So I thought, that sort of thing, right? As I kept walking, and lo and behold, I turn around. She's walking slowly with her dog behind me, and I'm thinking that is the most creepiest, weirdest thing for a person to do. Because, and when I turn around a few times, it's like I could see her looking like she knew what she was doing. Like, where I don't want to keep my video going on too long, but if you notice these things, it is really creating a awkwardness, a weirdness, a kind of a they call it, it's really coming down to, maybe that's where the people are saying there's a rise of narcissism. Narcissism comes from the word antisocial. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's a pandemic of antisocial behavior. Because what I mean by that, it's against social attitudes that brings people together. So anyway, just give some thought about this in the name of inspiration. That partially, I find a part of thing about finding that when you're levitate and you're wanting to level up or be inspired, the whole part of it, you cannot turn a blind eye to the weirdness of people who are choosing not to be inspired, because inspired means to go up, right? It's a higher place, right? And they're more going down. They're not going up. So I don't know how much I made in this, but keep yourself. If you notice these things, you're not alone. Keep yourself. And whenever you notice, sometimes people, if they have stuff going on within them, it doesn't hurt to even just under your breath. Whether you believe or not, it is real. It works. Say in the name of Jesus Christ, I pray this thing not come near me. So you all have a good day, and do like and subscribe. Thank you.